my name's Dakota Slattery, and my final project is on the ACLU's fight for abortion. Now, according to this slide, which I got from the ACLU website, it's up to each one of us to decide whether or not, when or where to start a family, no matter where he or she may live. However, across the states, there are about 36 million people who are in danger of losing this right thanks to the Supreme Court's decision to overturn the Roe v. Wade case. Preventing people from having the right to abort goes against their will as well as their right to avoid any life-altering consequences that may just aren't ready for, especially when considering what type of environment you're trying to bring a child into. As below says, for example, if a person is giving birth, then they might be ending up into poverty or derailing their plans for education or their future goals, not to mention putting their own child or children, plural, at risk of entering the same type of situation. That is why it is important to consider just why you have to decide for abortion or not to abort. Now, the ACLU's stance on abortion. The ACLU works in different locations such as communities, legislatures, and courts, and other such places that I may have forgotten about. They do this in order to defend and preserve the individual's rights and liberties to have access to an abortion. And this should be guaranteed and will be guaranteed to everyone in the United States, as long as the ACLU fights to protect abortion rights. And forcing a person to stay pregnant even though they do not wish it only seeks to cause burdens, both mental and physical, as well as economical, on them. And those people not only have their freedom and liberty taken away, but also their futures. The ACLU usually fights in courthouses and state legislatures all across the country, challenging the restriction rights for the use of abortion in every state that has laws against abortion. This is how the ACLU is fighting for our access to abortion. They also promote the abortion access within close collaborators through the help of local providers as well as their own partners. The efforts that they have achieved through their organizations has helped many people as well as passed many legislatures for protecting and expanding abortion access in multiple states such as Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and not to mention Rhode Island. And in fact, they may have even helped somewhere in your location. Then there are examples of when the ACLU had fought for our abortion right access. For more than 75 years, the ACLU has been fighting for women's rights, especially their right to have an abortion, otherwise known as birth control. Many examples date back from the 1920s and as far as the 1990s. according to their website. And I know for a fact that there are many cases where they're still fighting for abortion rights even today. And even now, they're still continuing to fight for women's rights to birth control. Just like they did back in 1990, where the ACLU had won a major victory in the Hodgins versus Minnesota case, where the Supreme Court had struck down a state statute which required minors excuse me for the typo. They struck down a statute which required pregnant minors to notify their parents before they could obtain permission to have an abortion. There was also a time back in 1973 where the ACLU had also achieved a major success because they had shown the world that women had the constitutional right to terminate a pregnancy in the Roe versus Wade case. Now, I assume some of you may have questions as to why women's right to abortion is necessary. Well, I will tell you, it is necessary because they could be in an abusive relationship where they're forced to have children, or they're too young, as are the minors, and could potentially ruin their futures. There are many reasons as to why women would want to have an abortion or have birth control, because nowadays they are independent freelancers of their own careers and are pursuers of their own financial future. And having children before having the necessary support financially and economically, they could end up in a state where they're forced to put their child through many hardships. That is why abortion is necessary for such women. Here are a list of some quotes from anonymous sources found on the ACLU abortion website. As you can see, some of the women are terrified of being pregnant, either because they have no way to raise the children, they're in an abusive relationship, they're too young, and are afraid of disappointing those around them, or any other kind of situation. Let me begin reading off each of the quotes listed here. The first one: when I found out I was pregnant, I was so scared. I was too immature and would not have no way to support a child, so I got an abortion. I absolutely have no regrets. And according to this one, the person who had abortion was in an abusive relationship which depressed them severely during their first semester of school. As for here, you can see that the person who had abortion didn't wish to disappoint their parents, and didn't also believe that if they had a child with this man, they would be doing it all on their own. And the last one says that they knew what it's like to have a parent not want them. That's no way for a child to be born into this world. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day, and look below for the quotes.